Hi, everybody. So, we're going to talk about the story of the NBA playoffs in 2021. This season began with a lot of rejections from teams that did really well last year, but even teams that didn't do really well last year were not too happy with the very shortened offseason. As a result of that, right throughout the season, players were falling around like flies with injuries to so many players. Some of them made a comeback just in time to start the postseason, but even then, they were not ready. To name a few, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. These two guys are just two names out of a plethora of names. In this postseason alone, we have seen, especially the superstar players, be troubled by health concerns and other kinds of injury trouble, whether it's COVID related, as we've seen in recently with Chris Paul not participating in game one of the Western Conference Final. So here we go. This has been a season riddled with injuries, and yet also a season for opportunity, because through all adversity comes opportunities for new growth and new leaders. And this has been one such season for several youngsters in the NBA and one or two old ones. A guy who was much maligned last year, rightfully so, Paul George, has been making somewhat of a resurgence with the Clippers since Kawhi Leonard picked up his knee injury in the previous series against Utah. Now, it's too early to anoint Paul George playoff P, but I do think it's not too late or it's not too early to apologize for calling him Way of P. The guy was going through some mental issues, as he clearly stated last year. And after all, basketball superstars, so football superstars, any superstar, they're all human beings. So health has been a number one concern, and it continues to ravage through the NBA and in other sports. As we who watch football in Europe will have seen, Liverpool, defending champions, ravaged by lots of injuries, players falling apart in the Euros right now. So health has definitely played a role in the diminishing bodies of many of these superstars. Chris Paul and Kawhi Leonard are not taking part in the Western Conference Finals as we speak for various reasons. However, it's also true that there are some people who have risen up to the challenge. And there's many, but I can only name a few. For example, two young teams that are very well balanced and well coached in the Phoenix Suns and the Atlanta Hawks are basically announcing themselves in the NBA. And it's not too early to say they are for real. I think these teams will be a problem moving forward because their rosters are well constructed and they're young. Barring health, they are going to be around for a long time. And of many youngsters who have played really, really well in this playoff season, Luka Modric, sorry, not Modric, Luka Doncic. Luka Modric is a football player, has been excellent. To name just him, and Donovan Mitchell was another guy who's really been awesome, but injury also curtailed him, and he didn't even have his co-star backcourt partner, um, who couldn't help him there. But these two young guys, out of many, many, have been the two standout performers for me. Devin Booker for the Phoenix Suns and Trey Young for the Atlanta Hawks. Special performances from both. Elsewhere, the NBA merry-go-round for coaching continues. A couple of seasons ago, we saw the LA Lakers coach get fired one night, and the next morning he was hired in Sacramento. We've also seen a couple of guys pick up jobs after job after job after job, including the guy who lost the Eastern Conference Finals with the Brooklyn Nets yesterday, Steve Nash. Now that was his first chance, but it is a very interesting time in the NBA because a lot of these coaches, except for Steve Nash, he's a new hire, get multiple chances, and then they don't do well in some of these jobs. Take a few months commentating, get another job in a very good situation. So what's been very fascinating to see, though, is that the NBA conference finals for both conferences, you have three young coaches, relatively young for coaches, let's say, three of whom are black, and only 7 out of the 30 NBA coaches are black. Now, I'm not trying to make this into a racial thing, but race is definitely a big part of what's happening in sports in the US and around the world, especially when it comes to leadership roles. I do think it's an opportunity. The NBA is definitely leading in this, but I think it's a further an opportunity for them to look into how they can diversify front offices and the coaching jobs. The Sixers and the process, enough said. Not need to go too much in there. But one of the heroes of this playoff season has been Kevin Durant, and I think he deserves special mention. He has definitely, unlike some of the other stars who have never made a comeback like his in the postseason, especially after that kind of injury with an Achilles heel that kept him up for almost 2 years. He deserves a well-earned break. I know I've been hearing noise of him going to play in the Olympics. That's his choice if he wants that, but he's also earned a break. More to come. It's exciting. Definitely a new champion this coming summer for the NBA. That can only bode well for the league, a league that has a whole new generation of stars